with allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't mind, I would ask Chief Jordan, could you give us an update on what happened there in that fire today so everybody knows what's going on? It was on East Maiden Street, is that what it was?
Yeah, it was on East Main Street. It was actually in the city of Washington, but as you all know, we work very, very closely with them. So we had a structure fire with reported entrapments. Thankfully, everyone was out of the home on our arrival. We had a very close call with some city and South Japan firefighters as they were trying to get into the building to make sure that what was reported as a child in the basement was out. So everything's good now. Fire's extinguished.
No injuries. No injuries.
Yeah.
All firefighters, good shape. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. And before we do the public comment section, I'd like to read some things to you concerning public comments. These are guidelines. Robert's Rules of Order will apply. Manager will call you by name to the podium. State your name and address. You have a 3-minute time limit. No debate or question and answer, and there'll be no personal attacks. A couple things so you know. A lot of times throughout the week, you may or may not have questions or comments concerning the township and what's going on in the township. Keep in mind, our office, our township office, you can visit or call Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. Also, throughout this meeting and any other time, we do have a South Trevanion Township monthly meeting form. Any resident taxpayer may complete this form concerning township agenda items and or township business items. The township manager will respond within 1 to 3 days. And also, another opportunity for following adjournment this evening, and every evening that we have meetings, the township manager and some supervisors remain over where you can make some comments to them or ask them some questions. Okay, so that gives you a good chance to find out what's going on in the township. There's different avenues for you. Okay, let's move on to public comment time. The Township Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the Board of Supervisors on any matter. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Mr. Ziegler, you got anybody there?
Yes, we have one name on the list, Marcia Deeb from Fox Drive.
Hi, Marcia Deeb from Fox Drive.
Marcia?
Sorry. I read that the champion was going to be here and make a presentation tonight. Somewhere several months ago, they had asked for more parking spaces, but never really gave us a reason why. I was just going to ask if they could enumerate on that while they were here.
Good.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
There's no one else.
One. Meeting minutes. Need a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the Board of Supervisors dated January 23rd, 2024. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Need a second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Motion carried 5-0. Number 5, financial business. Need a motion for the approval of the payroll for the periods January 7th, 2024 through January 20, 2024 and January 21, 2024 through February 2024 and bills for the period January 2024 through February 23rd, 2024. Motion, please.
So moved.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy. Need a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any discussion on the matter? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 6 there, folks, on the agenda, you probably see announcements and recognition, but we have none, but that's one thing I want to read to you tonight, okay? This comes from we get a monthly township news magazine, every supervisor and manager. There's always good things in there. PSAP sponsors it, and they give us a lot of good information. What I want to read tonight is announce to you that last week was National Engineers Week, February 18th to 24. I'm going to read to you tonight, okay, from the text. The annual observance, which is sponsored by more than 120 engineering societies and major corporations, was created to increase public awareness about engineering. Designated by an act of Congress, National Engineers Week recognized how engineers make the lives of all Americans more livable, comfortable, and safe. In townships, our township, the engineer played a vital role in providing much-needed services, from planning, designing, and overseeing the construction of public work facilities to reviewing proposals for capital projects to inspecting bridge superstructures and foundations. The engineer helps find the most cost-effective long-term solutions to the problems that confront townships. In fact, the township engineer has taken on increasing responsibilities. Engineers are expected to advise township supervisors and other officials on such topics as road and traffic safety, watershed and stormwater runoff, alternative energy solutions, erosion and sedimentation control, and project finance. Just to give you a little awareness, a teaching moment from time to time from the board. And at this time, I'd like to recognize our township engineer, Rob Horvath, sitting right there. He does those very things that this magazine requires you to do. And so far, he's only been with us for a short period of time. How long?
A little over a year.
About a year. He's so far so good. He's done a good job for us. He takes care of business for us. And I just want to recognize him and give him a round of applause once I say this. Because of him and others, township manager, of course, we've received an LSA grant for $57,000, and this zip code, you're gonna like to hear this. It's for engineering to take a look at Berry Road and see what can be done to take care of that problem, okay? So there we are, years and years and years, we worry about that. We still worry about it. But we've received a grant that now we can take a look at it, see what needs to be done to take care of business out there. And Rob, thanks for helping out with that. I just want everybody to give you a round of applause for being a good engineer, okay? Okay, let's move on. Township reports and presentations. Municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4 report. The Board of Supervisors allocates a period of time during this item for comments regarding the topic of stormwater. Each person addressing the Board of Supervisors has to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. And we didn't have a sign-up sheet for that, but if there's anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to it, this is your chance right now, okay?
Jordan, is
Is there anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, they should be hearing us, so. They should be able to speak up, or is there any?
no one on there?
There's 3 people, but none have indicated they'd like to speak.
Just put that on the record if you could.
Yeah, you got it.
Let's move on. B, the township manager report. Mr. Ziegler?
Yes, I have a couple of items, tonight, Mr. Chairman. I'll start off with the South Strabane Spring Cleanup is coming up. It will be held on March 25th and then again on April 1st. It's our annual cleanup for residents. If you want to participate, place your limbs and branches at the curbside of in front of your house. Limbs should not exceed 6 inches in diameter or 10 feet in length. You just want to put that stuff out before 7 o'clock. The public works crews will be around and they'll collect that for you. This is a reminder, this is for yard waste only. So, you know, if you have a contractor come in and cut a tree or something for you, we prefer you don't put that stuff out because our crews are trying to get through the whole township on just those 2 days. And they're going to attempt to spend 10 minutes or less at each location. So just want to let you know that's available. And also all the time, 24/7, residents are encouraged to use the recycling center that's open at 253 Zedekar Station Road. You can drop limbs and leaves and everything off down there. I also wanted to mention something a little bit more fun than limb and leaf pickup. So, you know, our Parks and Rec Board was reconstituted, and earlier this year they started meeting. They already have an item on the agenda, an item that they're gonna do. They're gonna do a community Easter egg hunt. You can participate and visit with the Easter Bunny. You can check out a fire truck. Just bring your own baskets. This is for children up to age 12. There's going to be special prizes for each group. This is for township residents only. The hunt begins at 10:30 a.m. And it'll be held at the Pancake Fire Department Pavilion. That will be Saturday, March 23rd. And they actually designed their own pamphlet too, their little flyer, so it's very nice. And then I'll wrap it up with a couple of sort of development items I just kind of wanted to mention. Washington Hyundai at 305 Washington Road. They're in the process of remodeling their showroom. That is now complete. An occupancy permit was issued to them on the 21st of this month. Dick's Sporting Goods is beginning their project to build a new store. Site preparation began at their new location up on the old mill. The building permit is issued and we're expecting work to begin next week. Walmart applied for a permit for an EV charging station. Plans are being reviewed for that. Starbucks is doing some interior renovation to their 110 Trinity Point Drive location. Plans are currently under review for that as well. And then last, Victoria's Secret is moving into Tanger Outlets. They're remodeling the existing suite there, and the plans are being reviewed. Maybe they'll be open in time for Christmas or Valentine's Day next year. That's it.
Secretary Treasury report, this is what you handed. Mr. Ziegler.
Nothing. It's there for your review.
Okay, thank you very much. Township Solicitor, Mr. Nate.
Yes, Mr. Weber. The office has been involved in certain land use proceedings. We've also been involved in certain other items to help the township manager, and that's it, Mr. Weber.
Okay, Township Engineer Rob.
Should out my report. Nothing really changed in the Burkett Manor. There were some concerns raised last month about some stabilization at the site. They provided some feedback and they were supposed to start doing repairs. I haven't heard if they started doing those repairs yet. I just haven't received a call that they were going to start doing those repairs, but there were plans to restabilize some of the areas of that development. H2OPA grant application is on the agenda later on. MS4 support, we actually did our first round of stormwater facility inspections in January with the Public Works Department. My expectation is they're going to continue to do that, and we should kind of regroup as they get through a couple of those and kind of review their findings. Then finally, the Washington County LSA grant award was announced. We'll be in a holding pattern until they decide when that money will be released. Then what we'll do at that point is we'll move forward with an RFP for engineering services. Since that money is coming from LSA, we can't just do that work for you. So we're going to system the RFP process and put that out for bids, and then receive bids for engineering services to do that study.
Hey, Rob, those two buildings are going up right now. Other than the model, okay, those two going up, does that mean people sign up for homes there?
Those are models that are in bid.
They're also models?
Yeah, those are both models. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't believe occupancy permits have been issued for those yet. I think they're still waiting for final acceptance of the sanitary from BJ.
You had given a report back in December that no construction would be done until spring, and they were working in January. What was up with that?
Yeah, so I apologize for, what I meant to say was there was no utility or site construction going on. The models, from our perspective, we're watching the utility construction, the site work. We're not concerned as much with the actual building construction. So I misstated that there was nothing going on. What I meant to say was that they finished site and utility work for the wintertime. They were proceeding with the model. So sorry for the confusion. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Finish business, take care of number 9, new business. We're gone? Sorry. Want me to repeat it? Okay, thank you very much. Under new business, letter A, motion to accept the resignation of Troy Lucas from the position as code enforcement officer effective January 30, 2024. Motion please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, thank you. Discussion time, couple things. Mr. Ziegler, did you get a chance to have an exit interview with him?
No, Mr. Heasoff gave me his resignation and then went on vacation.
How long has he been with you?
He was with the township about 2 years and a month, I'd say.
Has a new job?
He didn't say.
Okay, anybody else? Have a question? Okay, let's move, let's go to the question. Let's vote, please. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Letter B, motion to accept the retirement of Jimmy Barnes from the position of part-time code enforcement employee effective February 29th, 2024. Need a motion, please. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grego. Discussion, and I'm going to start, not necessarily discussion. He's been with us 32 years and 4 months. Long-time employee, excellent employee. We couldn't talk him into staying any longer. He's done a very, very good job for us. I think a man like Russ Grego, who's worked years with him, can attest to that. And we want to make a comment or two about Jim this time. Later on, we're going to recognize him, okay, publicly about his years of service and honor him and so forth, and thank him for what he's done for us. Is there something you want to say?
Oh, yeah, Jim. Couldn't go along without, you start work at 7, he'd be here at 5. Every day. He'd be out. You're gonna miss, the knowledge he has about this township is probably more than anybody that I ever met, and I've learned a lot from him. And I'm gonna stay in touch with him. Township's losing a great employee.
Thank you. Bert, you want to say?
No, you guys summed it up. I
You
mean,
don't
he started here in the road department, and then he went to fireman, and then public safety director, and ended up in the building department over there. So he's been here for a long time, through it all. He'll be missed.
Yeah, once again, just to reiterate, we will be honoring him at a later date in a public meeting, so you know, okay, that's all his achievements and so forth. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next item, letter C. Did we vote on it?
Yeah.
Do a motion in a second.
Motion saying all those in favor accept his resignation, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. I apologize for that. Letter C. Motion to approve a resolution authorizing the destruction of specific public records. You speak for that for a minute there, Mr. Ziegler?
Yes,
What we're doing there?
Yeah, so you follow the Pennsylvania Records Retention Manual. Townships are not required to keep all records forever. That document outlines how long you're required to keep each certain types of records. And then they do actually recommend you destroy them after a point. And that's what's going on here tonight. So there's 3 categories of records that are being disposed of. They're listed here on the stuff in your packet. So in order to do this and follow the regulations on that, you need to do this by resolution. So you have a resolution in front of you this evening. If you wish to have these records destroyed.
And Mr. Chairman, in view of the current lawsuits against the township and pending issues, I would suggest we delay that until we have some of this stuff put to bed, so we don't have any records missing if we need them in the future. We can always do it at some point in time in the future.
Mr. Ziegler, are these records, how old are these records?
So you have ethics statements from the years 2009 to 2018. So those could be that old. Municipal lien letters from the years 2021 to 2023, and peddler's permits from the years 1995 to 2020.
No finance records, no bills.
No, just those records that I mentioned.
How long do we normally keep our bills?
I'd have to check the records retention manual on that. There was a regulation, I think it might be 7 years.
Okay, Mr. Ziegler, anything else?
No.
Okay, let's get a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Need a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the matter? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes for, Mr. Rode, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear your vote. Did you say aye?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very good. So that's 4-1. Motion passes 4-1. Letter D, motion authorizing execution of a franchise agreement between Comcast Communications Management LLC and South Strabane Township. Mr. Ziegler, please.
Yeah, so what you have in front of you is a renewed franchise agreement with Comcast. This is an agreement that's been in place, I presume, since 1984 when the act went into place. What it does is allows, well, they can do it anyway, but provides that Comcast can use our right of ways, and they provide a franchise fee to the township for that. They pay a fee to the township in the amount of 5% of their gross annual revenues. And this agreement is for 7 years. That 5% is the maximum amount by law. This agreement has been reviewed by the solicitor, and you can see the amount of revenue. For example, it brought in $208,582 in 2023. So
How much is that again?
$208,582.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Thank you. Need a second, please. Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Letter E, consideration of a request to have a street light installed on Shady Side Avenue. Give information on that, please, Mr. Ziegler.
Yes, so the township received a petition from 10 residents on in the Shady Side Avenue neighborhood requesting a street light be placed in that area. They often hear coyotes and other noises. They've confronted questionable individuals walking around in the dark, and it is very dark back there. They feel unsafe. They have requested that a street light be placed, and there are other street lights in the area, so this wouldn't be a one-off. There are other street lights in the neighborhood. Contacted First Energy. They would install a 50-watt LED fixture on an existing pole at either at the intersection of Shady Side and Fairview Avenue, or at location B, which would be on a pole directly in front of the requesting resident's home. The recommendation is to put it at the intersection. That's practice we've been following. The cost of this would be $1,217. The monthly charge is about $20.
Motion to approve, please.
I'm making a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Grego. Need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion on the issue?
Only that in the future, I'd like to come up with some kind of an ordinance for street lights. Whether it's for safety or it's dark at my crossroads too, but I don't have one, so. I think there should be some kind of an ordinance to.
In the past, it used to be a request for school bus stops, so I think that needs to be a resolution.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Motion to authorize the chairman and the township manager to accept the COVID-19 ARPA H2O grant. Mr. Ziegler, how about speaking to this? This is something we need to talk about.
Sure. So the township, before I got here, the township applied for a grant under the ARPA H2O program. We received word that our grant application was to be funded. An award was made in the amount of $1 million. The match for that would be $515,151. The purpose of the grant is to do work and make improvements to the Quarry Road pump station. Pump station is reaching the end of its useful life. Components were installed in the 1980s. The grant would construct a new wet well, new pumps, new discharge pumping, new surge relief valve, and then there would be some improvements to the building itself, a new roof and new doors as part of the construction. At the time of the application, the match was to be funded from some prospective developments that people were hoping were going to come in. Those have not yet materialized. They do materialize. However, there's a $1 million grant offer out there, and we have the project time period goes from now, when you accept it, to September of 2026. You would have that long to spend the money or simply turn the grant back. So it's a reimbursement grant. It's not a grant where they cut us a township a check and we'd have $1 million sitting in the bank. It's reimbursement. So the downside of accepting a grant and then not using it, they may look at you, a little cross-eyed when you try and apply for a grant in the future. But still, it's $1 million. It takes some time. Try and find a way to use this, change the scope some way if possible. I don't know if Rob, you had anything you want to add to that?
Mr. Weber, if I could ask, so this is a reimbursable grant? then?
Yes.
So you have to spend the money first.
Yes.
So then would we need an interim financing situation for this?
First speak to it, Rob. So,
I'm just saying, if you have, I've done these before, so if we have $1 million grant, and if the board decides to go with this, it's reimbursable, so therefore we need to have some type, more likely we need to have interim financing then?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, so we'd have, if you accept this, you would have to go to the bank or lending institution to acquire some type of interim financing, because you don't want, you don't want to just take it out of your general fund or your whatever, because that'll kill you. So down, I'm just saying, if you do this, you're gonna have to have interim financing as part of this process.
Yeah, we had identified match in the several potential sources of match. And there is some money in the capital reserve fund, the sewer capital reserve. And then we were getting anticipated developer contribution.
Is there anything from Commonwealth Financing Agency, or is this Commonwealth Finance, CFA loan? Is there any grants from CFA?
This is not.
The CFA, but can we supplement this with the CFA grant?
We would have to apply for it, yeah.
And this improvement would primarily be for the Snuffy development.
That was what kind of drove this at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and
We, at that point, I think the Snuffy development seemed like it was a bit further along than it was. And there was a desire to incentivize development in that area.
Mr. Ware, if I could ask you one more question. And if basically, if the township goes through with this, can we also set a tap fee? Could we create a new sewer district for this and have it assess a tap fee?
Yes, we just did it for the Forest Main. We added an assessment, and we could do the same thing for this.
That's the question.
And the Snuffy development was significant enough that we would have recovered what we would have put into it.
Okay, just to
At
make
some
sure,
point down the line, yeah.
if you decide to go in that direction, just to make sure you're aware, interim financing, possibly other sources for Commonwealth Financing Agency, I think it's what they call it, and plus to have some type of sewer district with a tap fee to get your costs back.
And I think there was some discussion with Ouija as well. They have some pieces of that they may be willing to contribute at some point, if we get to the point where it becomes
Yeah, we
reality.
need to make a motion.
yeah, you're right. Rob, let us make a motion and second, I think we'll discuss it, okay? Motion to approve.
So moved.
I need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. No discussion. Go ahead, Rob, stay there.
And I think, Jeff, at this point, I think what we decided was we need a little bit more time to decide which way this is gonna go and to do a little bit more due diligence, and rather than just flat out saying, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
This buys us at least another year. I mean, there have been some discussion with Snuffy relatively recently. They had some consideration of coming back in with a revised plan, trying to address some of the comments. And again, I don't think any of us are comfortable speaking for them, but I think we will hear from them again, and perhaps this kind of helps them along.
Yeah, you're Ouija's engineer as well, KLH, correct?
KLH, yes.
Yeah, because I read in there, Kevin said it's and a useful use, and then maybe talking to Mike, Sheriff, 5 or 6 more units that could be added to that on Quarry Road, and it's maxed.
Yeah, I can't recall how many, we didn't take a look at how many units were there.
And when it rains, we're still having issues.
Well, individual taps in that area. would
It's
be
pretty
fine.
much done.
Yeah, there's a handful left, but something like Snuffy where you're talking about, what that was, it was over 100 EDUs, was gonna put it in that spot.
So if it's the end of its useful life, even though we're not just fixing it, we're upgrading it, has we just showed any interest in?
We did meet with them about this. They don't have any current plans to do anything with that station. It's functioning. I think they're taking it's not broken, we're not planning on fixing it approach at this point.
Okay. That's all.
So you got, I talked to Mike Sheriff, and he said maybe 6 more. And it's
I don't remember what it is. It's not a lot.
and Dennis said, we could afford it. We have $604,000 in the sewer fund. I asked Mike Sheriff if we did the million plus our match would be 515,000. That it would, whatever they would do, it would increase capacity. I mean, I get Snuffy Development's gonna benefit from this if they ever come. But if more than, we've had 2 homes built on Floral Hill, which all flows to that. We have another one coming right now. So if anybody else wants to build on Lakeview, Quarry, Green Crescent, Emerald, Floral Hill, they're done.
Been done properties.
So
But that's also not the responsibility of the taxpayers to subsidize.
that's why
that.
you put an assessment on it.
But what you would do,
It doesn't belong to the township, it belongs to Ouija. And any
But we
upgrade,
won't increase the capacity.
well, that's not their job. Their job is to maintain it and operate.
Okay, and Mike Sheriff has told us the capacity's gone, other than maybe 6 more EDUs and it's gone.
Then a developer needs to come in and invest his money. I don't, we did this for Meadows Landing and Meadows Landing's not here. So we went and spent a lot of the taxpayers' money for that. We have to get out of this. The taxpayers can subsidize everything in this township. It has to stop. Stop.
There you go.
I think what we're talking about here,
Comments, and I'm concerned about that because it's gonna affect me. Every time something happens, taxes go up, assessments. And
That's
things never go
that's
away.
not true. So they're
I'm
paying,
asking for a fire hydrant.
Who's paying it back?
well, Burkett Manor has just kicked in the assessment that we put on it,
the tapping fee.
the tap-in fees plus the $1,428, which anybody, whether if you come through the Quarry Pump Road Station, the Windsor Highland Pump Station, the racetrack pump station that goes to Manifold, they all have to pay that $1,428.
I understand that.
A car district, the car wash that just went in, they paid $12,852 for that force main.
Well,
When Dick's comes, they gotta pay it. When Menards comes, they have to pay it.
if
The 2 homes that were built on Floral Hill, they had to pay it.
Meadows Landings had paid their developers agreement when they should have,
Well,
the
but they
township
didn't come.
wouldn't have cost a dime. You're wanting to use township, you're
I'm
wanting
not
to use
using
taxpayers'
township, I'm
money.
not using, it's all coming out of the tap-in fees or the special assessments. It's not coming out of taxes.
So you're gonna tell your vendors we'll pay you when we collect the tap-in fees?
No,
You
we
know
have,
better
we
than that.
have the money.
We don't have the money.
The sewer authority has the money. What,
And
why
that's
do we
gonna
have?
wipe it dry if
why-
you need anything else.
Well, when Burkett Manor develops, and they will probably develop in a year to 2 years,
Probably.
we're gonna get $250,000
maybe.
out of them.
When? It needs the
Why do
developer,
we have a sewer authority?
the developer pays for this.
I don't think you do have a sort of.
You
Well, we
don't
have
have a sewer authority.
engineer,
You got rid of
whatever
it.
It's called
Township got rid of it.
enterprise. We have a sewer enterprise.
No, that's just the name of the checking account.
Okay, I understand.
With,
Rob, I need you to put summarize this a little bit for us, okay?
So that's.
Where do we go from here?
The
What's
decision
your
you're making
recommendation?
tonight by signing the grant agreement buys you time. If you decide to not do anything in the next 2 years,
We give it back.
it's a turn back, you know, of anything. If you decide to spend anything, you'll recover a third of that, at least on the Quarry Pump Station. Jeff and I have both reached out to the funding agency to ask about a scope change. Neither of us have any luck in getting any type of response. So I can't give you a definitive answer. I don't think they'll allow it. But we haven't had somebody from the agency say, no. We haven't gotten a response at all yet. So this buys you some time, consider it, see if Snuffy comes back around. Again, if Snuffy comes in and they have the tap fees and they're gonna basically end up reimbursing what you're gonna put into their sewer reserve funds, I think that makes sense. Without it, that's a decision you guys, it's gonna,
Well, I think, Rob, we have to sign this thing by Thursday, right?
yes.
Yeah,
You need to make a decision.
If we approve.
Well, where's
So
the,
I would recommend that you approve it and we see where we go.
where's the rest of the mess at? I mean, why aren't you addressing the rest of the mess down there instead of just the sewage? Like the roads, I mean, that's a big
We're
mess.
aware.
You know,
we're
so
aware.
now we're gonna spend $1 million or 500,000, and they don't even have access to the place yet. That don't make sense to me.
It's flooding the roads with. what we
We're not
call
sure if
now
nothing's coming anyway, huh?
Correct.
Well, it's not.
Have they reapplied? Have they
No,
said anything to
we
you?
have had, within the last 3 months, we have had discussions with them. They have come to the township in the last 3 months.
And that's my issue. The township went out on a limb to do this for them. And they have made zero effort since that was done until this money was made available. So if money hadn't been made available, then it wouldn't have been, there would be no discussion anyway. It's a tail wagging the dog. And that $1 million, I hate to tell you, that's taxpayers' dollars too. That's from all of us. I think if somebody else can get good out of the money, we're better off just to let them have it and get good out of it.
Where does this grant come from? Where did grant apply? Who gave it?
It's ARPA funding. It's from the,
American Relief Act.
yeah, that came from the COVID. The federal government released a bunch of money to the states through COVID.
Well, it's awful funny that that one there just got designated for an upgrade. When nothing else was approved, the road's in bad shape. You can't even pass anybody on there now. You're gonna put 600 cars on there. It just doesn't make sense. Then you know what? Here's the other thing. You guys snuck a fire tax in on everybody and never advertised it or anything. People don't even know they got a fire tax until their taxes are due because they have an escrow. That was a bad move. Real bad. You guys snuck that one in big time.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. We're gonna have to take a vote on it because it's Saturday, Thursday we do it. So we got a motion, it's the second. In our discussion, and Mr. Ziegler, let's have a roll call vote and see how folks are gonna vote on this.
Okay. Mr. Rowan,
No.
Mr. Grego,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Of course.
and Mr. Bull,
No.
and Mr. Weber.
No. Okay, let's move on.
We're on.
Me too. Yeah, I just wanted to vote. Okay, letter G, motion to recognize code.sys code consulting Inc. as the commercial plan reviewer for the township. Mr. Ziegler, you give a brief description so the folks know what we're doing here.
Sure. So earlier we accepted the retirement of Jim Barnes. He was the one doing our commercial code reviews. So Code Sys will, if we hire them, they will step up and they will do the code plan reviews for us.
Okay.
It's really that simple.
We've used this,
We have used them before.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so no hand, okay. Letter G, a motion to, okay, approve, okay, thank you, Mr. Murphy. Need a second? Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
Wait a minute.
if I may,
Okay, I'll let you say that. Go ahead.
did you put these services out for bid to see if there was anybody else that did this work that might do it at a better price than what these people are quoting you? That's a yes or no question.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yeah, these are professional services. There's no requirement to put them out for bid. And we have used them before and we're satisfied with their services. And there's no contract, you can change it at any time.
Okay. Thanks, Ed. Okay, now, any other discussion?
Yeah, does our remaining code enforcement officer have the credentials to review these plans, or is this that we have to do this deal?
Mr. Ziegler, you want
Want me to answer that?
Yes.
Yeah.
You could.
He does not have the credentials to do commercial plan reviews.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion on the table, it's been seconded, discussion, let's call to question. All those in favor of the motion, please
But
indicate.
I should amend that too, Mr.
What's
Chair.
that?
He also took the test a week ago, passed it, submitted his check to Department of Labor and Industry, and he should be certified.
Okay, he is
In a short
certified.
time.
Okay, the answer to this question.
Very good.
Thank you.
So this is a backup plan.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's for building code.
Yes.
That I'm saying. Let me
Okay.
further amend that. That is not, I don't want you walking away thinking he can do commercial planning, because that's not what that is.
Okay.
So they will still do commercial
All right,
planning.
let's go back. Motion on the table, it's been seconded, discussion's taking place. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Letter 8, motion that the township will no longer provide low-interest loans to owners of properties contiguous with sewer line to South Trevane Township. Mr. Ziegler, and I'm also going to ask Mr. Mason to speak to this. Mr. Ziegler?
Yes, so the township received a building permit application for a house at 550 Floral Hill Drive. A request to tap into that Floral Hill sewer line. The previous township manager at the time of the subdivision, which created the lot which the house will be built on, offered the applicant the same terms as the original Floral Hill sewer project customers, paid for that sewer line extension project. The applicant is requesting the same terms as was offered to him from the previous township manager to tap into.
Mr. Mason? You have anything to say on this subject?
This is a situation I've been in touch with Mr. Ziegler and Mr. Jordan, Mr. Kramer about this. And they want, you guys are you're becoming the bank to do these loan process. It becomes somewhat problematic. Most places I've done these projects, sewer projects and water projects, you normally have the property that goes to the bank or lending institution and gets the loan. One of the aspects of this whole process is that you were giving, what, 2% interest to use the money? You know, that 2% interest, when this was developed by previous township manager, the interest rates were low, probably at 1% or 0.5%. Now the interest rates, if I'm correct, are what, 5% or something? And if you go borrow the money at the bank, you're gonna cost you 8%. So from my perspective, I just think it's not a good process. If something goes wrong, then you gotta chase after the people to get the money.
The other, well, we got a motion. Motion to approve. The township will no longer provide low-interest loans to owners of property contiguous with sewer line to South Trevane Township. Need a motion, please. I'll make the motion. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bolt. Any discussion?
Yeah, well, I don't know if she's allowed, but I think with the letter that our past township manager said that we should abide by that and let them have it. And then from this forward on, we're out of the loan business, but they did get a email from our past township manager and say this is
Said okay.
basically yes.
The sewer authority always did this.
I have an email.
Are you,
Yeah, we're done, we're
come
done.
on up here. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so we did the subdivision.
What is your name?
Kelly Robinson,
What is it?
Robinson,
First name?
Kelly.
Kelly Rock.
Yeah, so we did the subdivision on Floral Hill, and we're gonna be building on 550. So we started the building process, but this is actually the breakdown for the sewer. And so we're just asking that if you, pretty much what you're saying, is grandfather us in and then moving forward because it was already presented to us that way. Our building permit actually is on hold. We already applied for our building permit and then this whole process went out. So until you guys decide on which way you're going, our building permit's on hold.
We'll make a decision tonight.
Okay. Yeah, and then also, just to take into consideration, so you guys less the original grinder pump fee, which is like $4,000. Our builder did tell us that it's gonna be about $8,000 to $9,000, so we'll have to pay that difference for the new grinder pump fee, so that's gonna be an additional cost as well for us as we're building on there.
Yeah, but Kelly, we have that cost about like what you would pay each year. We have that cost about?
It doesn't say, it just says that you can do 5, 10, or 20 years. But it doesn't say like what it just tells us what the fees are. But it was already, that's the way it was presented to us before.
At what interest rate?
At 2%.
That's what
We
I
have
just put it out there, I don't think
to
it's
make a
fair to them that he offered it to them. And then we get 2% interest.
Yeah, the previous sewer authority did this for everybody, did this for years. I don't know what happened whenever the township took over the sewer authority. it was hard to manage. I spoke with Ms. Rossi via email. It was hard to manage. It was a lot of work. Unfortunately, in the world we live in today, I think the township would probably not have a secured interest in the property. And it needs to be in the future, it needs to be part of the contract with the builder and the bank to build the part of that process.
Mr. Mako, I move the motion. We're going to amend this motion by letting her have her say, her own. From this moment on, after this, we'll grandfather in where it was called, but make up the amendment for us so we can.
So basically, a motion to,
Take your time.
I think since,
Mr.
I
Chairman.
don't think you need to, Bob, because we've already told them we do it.
well, here, just, he's correct. So basically, the motion, the township will no longer provide low-interest loans to owners of properties contiguous to sewer lines in South Strabane Township. And grandfathering in Holly Robinson, is that, what's your name? Kelly, and grandfathering in Kelly Robinson based upon the representation made by the former township manager. That's your motion.
Get all that, Mr. Ziegler?
I have it.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Ed, please.
I was the man that drafted that
Very good.
thing for Floral Hill,
We're doing
and
it.
I can tell you how it's supposed to work.
All right, come on up, Dylan. Come on up and tell me.
I don't have to get up, I can talk from here.
You come up and talk, you gotta talk.
That was done. Everybody had to
Mr.
put
Mayor,
in,
Mr. Mayor, I'm right here. Not the yell. Just tell us what you want. I'll listen to you.
when that was done, everybody put in the amount that was needed to make it happen. The covenant to that was anything new that came in paid the same amount. And the total that would result from that new input would have had an impact on how much everybody would have paid in the beginning. So there was a rebate that was to go back to everybody that was the original assigners to that project from any new person that came in.
And we're not changing that.
And two,
We're
there's
just going
been
away
two,
with-
and they're
we're just
getting
going
the
away
money
from
back.
that.
We're doing that. We follow that rule. We got that.
We're not changing that. We're just not carrying the paper anymore. They have to pay it in full at the time they get their permit. We're not taking that away from the.
The other 16.
I stand down then.
We'll get their.
Thank you.
I was afraid you were changing that.
No, we're just not gonna be
Thank you, Ed.
in the banking business anymore.
Okay, where are we? What, we have that motion.
I gave you the amended motion. Now
I
we need
made the motion, somebody seconded it, we discussed it.
Mr. Murphy made the motion, Mr. Who seconded
I'll second
it? George, thank you, you seconded it. Discussion, we thoroughly discussed it. All those in favor of the motion to grant this grandfather in, motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried 5-0, congratulations. Okay, that's 5 over. Okay. Letter I, resolution for preliminary and final land development approval for Champion Center Enterprises LLC at 65 Fisher Road. Now, would you like me to read this, Mr. Ziegler, would you like to read it?
You want to read that whole thing there? or you just
Yeah, I
wanna
want the
turn
whole
it
thing
over
read
to
so
the
people
developer
understand
to
what's going on. You want to read it? You want me to read it?
read it?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the township is in receipt of an application for preliminary and final land development for Champion Enterprises to renovate property at 65 Fisher Road for business offices. The township originally received a text amendment application for this property to the zoning hearing board in October of 2022 to allow churches as a conditional use in the C3 zoning district. This application was withdrawn before the planning commission considered it. In January of 2023, the applicant reemerged as Champion Center Enterprises LLC with an application for conditional use to operate a business or professional office at this location. The conditional use was ultimately approved at the recommendation of the solicitor with several conditions as listed in the attached findings of fact. The property is approximately 29 acres and is owned by the applicant. It is currently improved with a riding arena and horse stables. The applicant proposes to repurpose and expand upon the existing structures in order to construct business offices at the property. Specifically, it would consist of a series of office, multi-purpose functions, and common space with tenants primarily renting on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis as described to the township during the conditional use application. The applicant appeared before the Planning Commission at their February 1st meeting, 2024, and received a positive recommendation, 5-2 votes, for preliminary and final land development, subject to the engineer's comments that an underdrain/fill slope on roadway detail for the sanitary sewer are provided prior to the issuance of a building permit. The Planning Commission wished to emphasize that a business office was approved.
The applicants for this resolution, President? Tom, the applicant.
Chairman and members of the board, good evening. My name is Thomas Lonich, and as you know, I'm an attorney licensed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm here on behalf of the applicant tonight. A few matters before we begin. This is not a public hearing. It is only a land use approval recommendation that we are seeking from the Board of Supervisors, and therefore for the board to take any comments at this point in time as the matter has been called would be improper, other than from the applicant's representative. We request that the video be preserved, and I will be filing a right to know request asking that the video be preserved for this meeting and I be provided with a copy. We'd also request that given his statements and positions that he voiced concerning this matter prior to his being elected, that Mr. Bull recuse himself from any vote or participation to any degree in this matter. The applicant has complied with all the ordinance requirements as it pertains to the land development request. This has been confirmed by the township engineer, and therefore, with all the requirements having been met, we would seek approval.
Mr. Weber, can I ask Mr. Lonich?
Sure, absolutely.
Mr. Weber, Mr. Lonich, I understand what your position is, but you understand basically that a finding of fact and conclusion of the law was rendered by the Township Board of Supervisors a while back. You understand that?
I understand that.
Do you understand basically that, could you shut the phone off, please? Anybody have your phones, please shut them off. That's disrespectful. Board previously granted a findings of fact and conclusion because your client wanted those. And I just want to reemphasize what the board granted. One second. The board said basically the property is to be used for second here, longer than I thought. Supposed to use for business purposes and so forth. Do you understand that? You have the resolution, by the way.
The application that was filed for conditional use.
I understand what it's thing for.
Is business and professional offices, yes.
Okay.
And this has been raised several times.
I know, but sometimes when you're in a court, like the judge will tell you, you have to understand, basically. So if the board approves the situation, your client has got to understand, basically, the property is to be used for business or professional offices as recognized in the conditional use in the C3 district. The property shall only be used for those purposes as submitted by the applicant, and its request for conditional use is submitted to the Township Board of Supervisors. The requested use for business offices and professional offices may not be enlarged or changed by the applicant. Do you understand? Your client understand that?
As I've said several times before, this board and the board and the planning commission, I understand it, my client understands it. A conditional use was approved and finding the fact and conclusions of law to that position.
All right.
We completely understand it.
And do you understand your client will have to comply with that? Do you understand that?
Again, for about the 15th time, yes,
I
sir, we
understand.
understand it.
But the reason why I have concern, and I'll hand you this, this is a document that was handed to me, which I think you admitted to me you already have a copy of.
Mr. Michael, this is not a hearing. so
I
if you're gonna
understand, it's not a
present-
hearing, but hey, wait a minute, this is the board's meeting, it's not your meeting.
Nor is it yours.
No, it's the board's meeting, and I'm the solicitor. Concern I have is what's presented in some type of document. It says about a church, just so you're aware of it. It's not to be used for church, it's that it requires documentation, you understand that?
Tell me when I can speak.
Well, right now I have the floor,
That's what I said, so let me know when I can speak.
okay? I just make sure, I'm just telling you what this resolution is. And basically, we have concerns based upon the representations being made. You understand? Now you can speak.
Thank you. As has been pointed out several times, and most recently during the planning commission meeting, the township has mechanisms in place. If you do not, or the township does not believe that the applicant is fulfilling the terms of the application and conditional use. That is completely understood. That has been conveyed to the client, who has authorized me to state they understand that. Any documentation that's been put in front of me, just like it was left on the planning commission table, is inappropriate. I understand the concerns, I understand your concerns, Mr. Maple, but we're here for land development approval.
Well, let me just respond. I disagree with it being inappropriate. You made that comment, and that's your conclusion. But the concern is we have to follow the law, okay?
I understand it.
I hope you do. I hope you and your client do understand that.
Do any board members have any questions of, or comments for Mr. Lonich? No? Mr. Lonich, a long-term question. The future plans of this organization is to develop a church.
Mr. Weber.
I'm only gonna hear this for the first time. I wasn't at the last hearing. I do ask you a direct question. Your future plans for this group is a church.
The
Yes or no?
conditional use that was approved is for a business and professional offices. That's what is approved. That's what my client had sought approval for and what was granted by this board.
Does you have your engineer here also tonight? Is he going to make a presentation or not?
No, we've met all the requirements from the township engineers, and I don't think there's any issues to be decided,
So why is he here tonight?
because I asked him to be here.
Anybody else have a question?
What about my part?
Oh, yeah. Stand up, say that
Well,
question again.
that's,
Let her ask the question. It's an easy question.
Yeah, it is an easy question. A few months ago, when you were here, you had asked for additional parking. You didn't say what has changed. And I was just wondering, what has changed to require more parking?
Can I respond?
Sure, absolutely.
The request was never made for additional parking. The request was made for a number of parking lots. We met the minimum requirements as required under the ordinance, and that's what we sought approval for. The conditions for approval of parking in a number of spaces were eventually placed in a conditional use application, or excuse me, the findings of fact, and conclusions of law, and that was decided.
Ed,
I mean, you read the
Thank you.
ordinance.
Have you checked out,
now who you asking the question to?
not a question, it's a comment,
Okay.
have you checked out the ramifications in relation to the TIF and a mid? Because that property was in the mid and was key to the mid being able to do what it did. And I think that is still in place.
Thanks, Ed. Any other board member have a question, comment? Okay, let's move on to, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's, Mr. Maple, any final comments?
No, but we have a motion to make in terms of resolution specifying what is going forward.
Go ahead.
All right, so if the board wants to make a motion to approve a resolution, provide that developer shall comply with all provisions and conditions set forth in the township's engineer's letter dated January 25th, 2024 to the township. And that's, Mr. Lonich already has a copy of that letter. 2, the developer shall be responsible for any and all fees incurred by the township and as allowed by the municipality's planning code. 3, developer shall comply with the findings of fact and conclusions of law. See, Exhibit A is approved by the South Surbane Township Board of Supervisors, and more specifically, the condition which are as follows. The property of the applicant shall only be used for business or professional services as recognized in the conditional uses in the C3 district. B, the property shall be used only for purposes as submitted by the applicant. Its request for conditional use is submitted to the Township Board of Supervisors. C, the requested use for business offices and professional offices may not be enlarged or changed by the applicant. 4, the approval is further conditioned upon acceptance of the conditions contained herein by the developer and his signifying acceptance of these conditions by signing a copy of the resolution. 5, in the event that the execution is not delivered, of this resolution is not delivered to the township within 30 days, then that means basically the developer is not agreeable to doing it. 6, prior to the issuance of any permits, all outstanding legal, engineering, and administrative fees applicable to this development must be paid by the developer. So any fees we have for engineering and so forth must be paid. This approval is subject to the fulfillment of all of the foregoing conditions in their entirety, and no permit shall be issued, nor shall any development take place on the property unless any and all these conditions are approved. So basically, what we don't want to have done, like we have in other developments, we don't want things to be done without paying the fees up front. So we have escrow accounts and so forth, those have got to be paid. You understand that? Developers comply with all township ordinances, rules, and regulations. That if the developer fails to specifically comply with the township approval set forth herein, the township shall pursue the appropriate legal remedies as set forth in section 206-83. And that's what Mr. Lyons was talking about before. If he fails to comply with the requirements, then you guys can follow through with the legal action. Do you understand that? And that's your motion. You want to make a motion to approve that resolution that sets forth those?
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution. I need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Not right now, Mr. Lyons. You're done. Your time's done.
Mr. Chairman, I'm directing you. May I make a comment or ask a question? I understand that a copy of this resolution will be provided to me with request for a signature. But I guess this may take place in a right to know request. But can the board identify any other developers that were subject to a resolution rather than just a land development being approved?
I think we did that with Meadows Landing.
And Menards.
And Menards.
I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay.
That's your answer. Yes. Okay, any further discussion with the board?
Only to the solicitor. This is something that we have to vote for or we'll get into litigation.
No,
Because they check all
what it
the
is,
boxes.
what it is basically saying is basically saying he has to comply with the conditional use is granted. He's got to pay all the fees. He's got to comply with the township's rules and regulations. That's what this is primarily saying.
So I'll ask you again, if we vote no, and they checked all the boxes, and we get into litigation.
If you vote no, then he's going to file a lawsuit again. He'll probably file mandamus against the township.
Your recommendation is, Mr. Maple?
I basically he's complied with everything.
Okay, all those in favor of the resolution? Let's have a roll call vote.
Was your
Yeah, we made the motion. I already moved it, and Mr. Murphy seconded it. So vice versa.
Mr. Rowan?
Yes.
Mr. Grego?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Bull?
No.
And Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, may we be excused?
No, you have to stay, Tom.
Just make sure. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, letter J, motion to reappoint Dave DeMott. Is that how you pronounce his name? And no, the first one. Dave DeMott, appoint John Diamond to the Building Construction Appeals Board for a 5-year term. Mr. Ziegler, you have a comment on that, or?
Yeah, I just want to say Mr. DeMott would be a reappointment. He's been on the Board of Appeals due to a passing of another member that was on the board. He's deceased now. Mr. Diamond has applied for appointment.
Okay, good. Move to approve these appointments, a reappointment and an appointment. Thank you, Mr. Ware. Need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grego. Any further discussion, these two guys?
Yeah, can you tell me, because I've been here for 4 years, I've never heard of it. What actually do they do? I know they have to meet this week because of something, but what actually do they?
So it's a requirement to have this board under the Uniform Construction Code. It has to be in place. They rarely, if ever, meet, and you're right, it's the first they've met in at least that many years. They will hear appeals related to the Uniform Construction Code. They can only hear very specific things regarding the application of the code, alternative uses under the code. So you can't just apply and think, for any reason file an appeal. It has to be very specific. This board convenes, hears, and renders a decision.
And there's two more positions open on
And
that board
we've
also?
been seeking, I've been told, since 2022, there are 2 more seats available on that board. You have to have a little bit more than an interest. You have to fall into the categories to be like an architect, an engineer, or someone in the construction field. If that sounds like you, please.
I think
Fill
it
an application,
specifically
send it in.
said, no builders. They didn't recommend builders. They recommended.
I think it says people with construction background. I think
Construction
we asked
experience.
Yeah. We asked just
But
to
it's a
make-
conflict. If you put somebody on there that's actually an actual builder, I think that's a conflict.
I think it would be a conflict if.
As good as he is, he's one of the best, but I still think it's a conflict.
I think
Well,
if the project he was associated with filed an appeal, I think he should refuse it. So, if
Just-
that happens.
If I can, Mr. Ware, we have, again, you don't see this very often. If you see, in my career, probably, I've seen it twice, maybe 3 times, have UC&C inspection. And we do have builders on this situation, contractors that are there because they have building experience. I mean, that's what we do. Okay?
Okay, all those in favor of the resolution or of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
4-1. Thank you. Last item, move to adjourn in a second. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. Thank you very